Flaqo, Kugongewa constant. 2016. It was the year my world crumbled for the first time. I was a struggling artist, trying to carve a name for myself in an unforgiving world. Back then, I was naive, full of hope, and madly in love with my first girlfriend. Let's call her Maria. She was beautiful, ambitious, and had a smile that could brighten the gloomiest of days. I adored her, but I wasn't enough. Our relationship began to crack under the weight of my struggles. I was living paycheck to paycheck, hustling to sell my art, but the returns were minimal. Maria, on the other hand, had dreams that demanded more than I could offer. She needed stability, comfort, and luxury things I couldn't provide. The signs were there, but I was too blinded by love to see them. One day, she sat me down and confessed she had cheated on me with a Kenyan celebrity. The words hit me like a freight train. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She tried to justify it, saying it was just a fantasy, that she was caught up in the moment. But then she added the dagger that still stings to this day. You'll never be a celebrity. You're struggling, and you're not of any help to me. I felt my heart shatter into a million pieces. She left me for someone famous, someone who could give her the fantasy life she craved. The irony, the celebrity dumped her after just 2 weeks. She came back, trying to explain, but her words stayed with me. Her betrayal left scars deeper than I could have imagined. I vowed to move on, to rebuild myself. But life wasn't done testing me. A couple of years later, I met someone new. Let's call her Anita. She was different, or so I thought. We were together for 3.5 years. And during that time, I gave her everything I could. We struggled together, selling clothes from hostel to hostel, trying to make ends meet. It wasn't glamorous, but I believed we were a team. Or so I thought. Things started to change when money became an issue again. I was still struggling, hustling to find my breakthrough. But it seemed Anita was running out of patience. One evening, after a particularly rough day, she snapped. We had an argument about finances, and before I knew it, she was throwing my clothes out of the house. I stood there, staring at my belongings scattered on the ground, disbelief washing over me. I begged her to let me stay the night. I had nowhere else to go. I was too embarrassed to call anyone, too ashamed to admit what was happening. She finally agreed, but made it clear how much she despised me. You disgust me. I can't share the same house with you. That night, she slept at her friend's house, leaving me alone in the place we once called ours. I stayed up all night, pacing back and forth, unable to sleep. The silence was deafening, the pain unbearable. I replayed everything in my mind, wondering where I went wrong. The next morning, I left. I couldn't bear to stay any longer. I later found out she had already moved on to someone else, someone with a little more money. It stung, but it wasn't surprising. Looking back, both experiences taught me painful but valuable lessons. Maria showed me the cruelty of superficial love, while Anita reminded me of the harsh realities of struggling together. Their words and actions cut deep, but they also fueled a fire within me. I'm still a work in progress, but I've learned that my worth isn't determined by someone else's validation. I've learned to focus on my own growth, to chase my dreams without seeking approval. And most importantly, I've learned that the right person will see my struggles as strength, not as weakness. Their betrayals left scars, but those scars have become a part of my story. They remind me of where I've been and how far I've come. One day, I'll look back and see these moments as stepping stones towards something greater. And maybe, just maybe, I'll prove them wrong, not for revenge, but for myself.